This is the afternoon weather briefing. This is for Tuesday, the 29th of August. I'm James Spann. All eyes are on Idalia in the southeastern Gulf of Mexico. Landfall will likely come tomorrow morning around the Big Bend region of Florida. Also, we'll be watching Labor Day weekend. Big weekend coming up, so let's get right to it. Let's start with the radar today. And like recent days, we have a number of showers and thunderstorms in progress across the state. Most of them, not all, but most of them are south and east of Birmingham this afternoon. We'll take a look at some of the heavier showers. And again, we're live here at 2:34. Got a huge downpour sitting on top of northern Clay County from Chehaw State Park down to Ashland. And like recent days, the storms will be producing very heavy amounts of rain. Very efficient rain producers. Got a big downpour along Interstate 20 just east of Oxford. Up in the Tennessee Valley, a few spotty showers, but a lot of rain down in the southeastern part of the state. Again, you can see rain is relatively widespread in parts of south and southeast Alabama, which, of course, is good news for our friends there. It's been so hot and so dry, and they welcome that. Temperatures are in the 70s, of course, where rain is falling and heat levels are way down today. And while we've got the radar up, I tell you what, let's go down and take a look at the hurricane real quick. We'll take a peek at the radar coming out of Key West. And again, you can see the circulation center very well defined. That is currently well to the northwest of Key West, well to the west of Marco Island and Fort Myers, places like that. It's moving to the north. And again, much, much more on the tropical system here coming up in a matter of moments. Here's the upper air look today. The ridge is gone for a couple of days. We'll take that. We've got troughing to the north. And again, very high precipitable water values across the state today. It's a visible satellite view. A good field of cumulus clouds, some of those blossoming into storms. Temperatures, not bad. A lot of folks are in the 80s today. Birmingham at 87. How about Dothan at 78? Come on now. That's a good break because of clouds and rain, of course. Mobile, break out the jackets. Only 92 at Mobile at mid-afternoon. So obviously we've got hurricane warnings in effect, tropical storm warnings in effect for parts of Florida and the South Atlantic coast, flash flood watches as well with Idalia. We'll talk much more about that in just a second. Here's a look at the severe weather outlook for the rest of today and tonight. Look at that risk up in Idaho and Montana. But of course our focus, it is on Florida. To the right of the circulation center of Idalia, we have a chance of isolated tornadoes later today and tonight over much of the Florida peninsula. We've got the level 2 out of 5 risk, including Tampa Bay and Gainesville. And then tomorrow, the threat of isolated tornadoes moves up the South Atlantic coast as Idalia moves to the northeast. This would include Jacksonville, Savannah, Charleston, Cape Fear, Wilmington, up toward the Outer Banks. Of course, all of this well to the east of Alabama. And then on day 3, which is Thursday, no organized severe storms expected across the country. Here's a look at the rain for the next 7 days, and obviously the big numbers are in association with Idalia. And again, you can see amounts in the 5 to 7 inch range for parts of North Florida, South and East Georgia, the eastern half of South Carolina. And the good news, it's going to be moving along at a good clip. This will not be one of these tropical cyclones that just sits there with these horrific amounts of rain. But still, that is certainly enough for some flooding problems. So let's look at the tropics, and we do note there is a new tropical depression on the board. This is out in the middle of nowhere. It's a junk system. No land threat, won't last long. That's TD11. We've got Hurricanes Franklin and Idalia. And again, we note coming off the coast of Africa, a new tropical wave. This is the 7-day outlook concerning that wave in the far eastern Atlantic. There's a 50% chance of that developing, but that will be gaining latitude. That most likely recurves. TD11, that's junk, just pure junk. It won't last long, middle of nowhere. The concern, of course, is Idalia. We're watching Franklin as well. Franklin beginning to look a little less organized. The winds have decreased. At one point, the winds in this thing were 100 145 miles per hour. Now the winds are 125. It will be passing, it's now west of Bermuda. It passes north of Bermuda tonight, and that will be moving up into the North Atlantic, becoming post-tropical this weekend. The only issue for the United States, rough surf and rip currents on the east coast of the United States. The Atlantic stirred up in a big way by that tropical cyclone. Idalia. Here's a look at the high-resolution satellite imagery. It is getting its act together in the southeastern Gulf of Mexico, slowly but surely. Let's look at the forecast track from the Hurricane Center. Top winds 90 miles per hour, moving north at 15. And not much has changed with the thinking on the track. We have a hurricane warning in effect from Indian Pass, Florida, which is east of Panama City Beach. And it extends down to near Inglewood and Longboat Key, just south of Tampa. The area is there in red. And obviously preparations need to be rushed to completion, as landfall will likely be coming tomorrow morning. And just checking a few notes here from the Hurricane Center really quickly to be sure there have been no changes here. Don't see any in terms of that warning. So again, Indian Pass down to Longboat Key. And landfall will be coming on the Florida Big Bend region tomorrow morning as a major Category 3 hurricane. That's the current forecast. And like we always tell people, you might want to plan for a Category 4. Kick it up one level in terms of preparations. But this will not be a good situation for these lovely villages like Cedar Key. And again, this is not a densely populated part of Florida, but there's some lovely villages and coastal communities there. Let's take a look at the projected storm surge first, and you can see we're now looking at a 10 to 15-foot surge coming into that part of the Florida coast. The areas in purple there, and that's pretty tough. That's going to be really rough. For Tampa Bay, the storm surge forecast is still 4 to 7 feet. And let's look at the ATCF set. Now, this is pretty interesting here. And again, agreement is very good. I mean, this thing coming up into the Big Bend, maybe a little east of Appalachia Bay tomorrow morning. But look what happens. It comes out through Savannah and then Charleston back out into the Atlantic. But you got a split here. Some of the members take it out into the open Atlantic. Some want to curve it back toward the Florida Peninsula. You know, Ivan did that back in 2004. And it could happen. Obviously, it would be in a very weakened state if that happens. We'll take a look at the GFS on this here in a few minutes. This is the intensity guidance on Idalia. And again, most of the members keep this as a Category 1 or 2, but these models have not performed well with RI, the rapid intensifying hurricanes, which this could very well be. So the forecast is this for to be a Category 3 at the time of landfall. This is the new HAFS, Hurricane Analysis and Forecast System model, and you can see it brings it right up into Appalachia Bay. This is a little to the left, to the west of the Hurricane Center track, and obviously with something like that, that's not good for Tallahassee. If this thing is a Category 3, an upper end 3, which is forecast, or a 4, this could be pretty rough for our friends in Tallahassee. So just be aware of that. This could lead to fairly long-term power outages and a lot of tree damage and a lot of roof damage inland up to Tallahassee and Interstate 10. For our friends that are watching this in Cape San Blas and Panama City, it's going to be windy. There's no doubt about that. Again, these are 10-meter winds, not winds right at the surface. But again, for Cape San Blas and Panama City Beach, you might see winds of 35, 40, 45 miles an hour. But the winds will be northerly, pushing the water offshore. So there's no storm surge issues in Panama City Beach or places like that. The storm surge is along and to the right, to the east of the circulation center. But again, Appalachia Bay is pretty warm if it comes right up in there. And again, Tallahassee's not that far inland, so just be aware of that. Of course, obviously, a lot of wind, a lot of rain for Tampa Bay, and then ultimately places like Jacksonville and Savannah and Charleston is a tropical storm. So again, that's the latest forecast track, and we'll come back and check it again here before we go. In fact, one more time, let's look at the radar coming out of Key West. And again, we're live here at 2:44 on Tuesday afternoon, August 29th. And you can see the well-defined circulation center that is passing through the open waters of the Gulf of Mexico. And, of course, those spiral bands are soaking parts of the western Florida peninsula. Miami, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach, they're dry. But once you get over toward the Gulf Coast side, it is very, very wet over there. So let's go through the GFS model fans. This is the 12Z run, valid tomorrow afternoon at 4. And again, we have a trough in the northwest, a trough in the northeast, and we have Idalia that is into South Georgia. This is the high-res herd. This is valid tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern. And landfall is occurring, and again, it's got the landfall over Apalachee Bay. And that's going to be a really rough ride for Panama City. And again, you can see the rain shield extending over to Panama City and Destin. And again, if you're there, sure, you're going to have wind and you're going to have some rain, but no storm surge, which is the good thing. And in terms of southeast Alabama, if you are in Dothan or Eufaula or Ozark, Abbeville, Headland, you're going to have some very breezy conditions, and you're going to have some rain tomorrow morning. I'd say in Dothan, the winds may be gusting to 40 miles an hour, 45 miles an hour with rain. But the rest of the state, you can see it looks dry. But I do think we'll see a few isolated showers tomorrow afternoon across the state, but probably not many. Clearly, the best chance of rain tomorrow, that southeastern corner of the state. And then on Thursday, the system is moving off the coast of the Carolinas, and we're dry. A continental air mass coming in here Thursday. Thursday morning, we're going to see some 50s. Very refreshing, a nice taste of fall. The day will be sunny, humidity values down. This is Friday. We're dry. Highs mid to upper 80s for the north, low 90s for the south. Saturday, let me get my box off of this thing. But you see what the GFS is doing to Idalia. It's still hanging around. The steering currents collapse over here north of the Bahamas, between the Bahamas and Bermuda. And it just kind of drifts to the southwest. Could it come back and haunt Florida again? That's not out of the question. But again, for Alabama, things look good. There could be a few showers Saturday over southwest Alabama, Mobile, Baldwin counties. Yes, a chance of showers there, but for the rest of the state, the day will be dry. Looks good for the college football games in the state on Saturday. Go to Sunday, and again, you can see Idalia just kind of drifting around. And look at that thing coming back as a very weak system down toward West Palm Beach and Fort Lauderdale on Monday of next week. Are you kidding me? The system that never goes away. Now, let me just say the Europeans not doing that. It kind of kicks it out. But that is an interesting concept. But we're dry. The bottom line is for Alabama, the Labor Day weekend looking dry with the exception of showers over southwest Alabama Saturday. Heat levels slowly creeping up. And this is a week from today. This is Tuesday, the 5th of September. And the ridge begins to rebuild. We've had enough of that ridge for a while, but again, we're dry with heat levels coming up. Let's go out 10 days. This is Friday, September the 8th, and again, we have a 591 ridge a little north of here, and this case, it would be kind of hot, few scattered showers and storms about. Rain for Birmingham through September 14th, not a lot. The mean here is under 1 inch, coming off the GFS ensemble. Heat levels for Birmingham coming off the NBM National Blenda models. And again, we've got mid-80s through Saturday and really through Sunday. 89 on Labor Day, then low 90s for the rest of next week. So not as hot as the deal we had a week or so ago, but still, listen, we've got many 90-degree days left. We all know that. In fact, this is the new 8 to 14-day guidance. This is for September 6th through September 12th. And that old ridge hanging around, and if that's right, temperatures here would be above average. So let's go back to the radar. And again, you can see this off the Key West radar. Let's see if by chance we can see it on the Tampa radar. I would imagine we can. Yep, not a lot out there to obviously block the radar beam. But you can see those big bands of storms moving through the Florida peninsula. And those are producing heavy amounts of rain. And there could be a few isolated tornadoes in there. And, of course, conditions will deteriorate for Tampa Bay and the hurricane warning area tonight. And once again, let's kind of take a look at the areas closer to home. Bands of storms are beginning to push in from the Gulf of Mexico. We've seen several bands of storms on the Gulf Coast today, and, of course, a lot of rain for southeast Alabama. And, again, we'll have the chance of showers and storms this evening. And tomorrow, again, the one part of Alabama that will likely have a significant impact from this thing will be the southeastern counties of the state. Nothing damaging, but certainly a windy day and a wet day if you're in Dothan, Ozark, Abbeville, up toward Eufaula. And if you're just joining us, again, the winds are increasing with Idalia, top winds 90 miles per hour. And, again, the system just looks to be in a position to keep on getting stronger. And, again, there could be a phase of rapid intensification. Hurricane center track has not changed much. Landfall coming tomorrow morning around the Big Bend region of Florida. And remember, the main impact along and to the right or to the east of that center line, the circulation center. They might jog the track a little to the west again. Again, some of the high-resolution models are showing this thing coming up into Appalachia Bay. But again, the basic concept is there. Hurricane warnings in effect from Indian Pass around the Big Bend down to Tampa Bay and the middle of Longboat Key. And, of course, we have tropical storm warnings up for the South Atlantic coast, including Savannah and Charleston, as the system will affect those folks with tropical storm conditions. And, again, the question is, could this thing do a loop-de-loop and come back and bother the peninsula again early next week or late this weekend? If that happens, it would be in a greatly weakened state. And, again, not all models are in agreement with that concept. But, again, this is the high-res HAFS tomorrow morning at 8 Eastern, showing that thing coming right up into Appalachia Bay with very strong winds. And this might be a Category 4 at the time of landfall. As we've been saying, technically at the moment, the Hurricane Center forecasting this to be an upper N3. But in terms of impact, and that's all that matters is impact. The difference between an upper N3 and a 4 is not that great. And goodness, you look back at these upper N3s. Katrina, on this date in 2005, was an upper N3 at the time of landfall. Hurricane Frederick, September 12, 1979, an upper N3. I can go on and on about these upper N3s. They're nasty. So, again, obviously everybody there, they're conducting their preparations, and that will be continuing. But we'll be watching and waiting with great interest as that thing makes landfall tomorrow morning. So, had a great time today. Briarwood Presbyterian saw the senior adults. Tomorrow, Gaston School near Gadsden in Etowah County. Thursday, Hackleburg Elementary up in Marion County. And then Friday, Summerton Christian School in Walker County. No book signing this Saturday. We will have one a week from Saturday in Tuscaloosa. But for the college football games, weather looks good. This weekend across the Deep South we'll be in a very dry air mass, so we're not expecting weather problems. And, of course, we do invite you to watch us over on the television side, right across the hall here in Studio A, ABC 3340 News at 4, 5, 6, and 10 o'clock. And for those new here, we do these live twice a day, weekdays, weekends as needed. In the morning about 5:15, in the afternoon about 2:45. Thanks for watching. Have a great evening, and God bless.